What if I told you that the very pain, betrayal, and suffering you've endured were not just obstacles, they were the fuel for something far more powerful than you ever imagined? If you're here right now, it's no coincidence. You're on the brink of an unstoppable transformation, one that will turn your deepest scars into the most lethal weapons. You've spent so much time fighting, surviving, and questioning your strength. But the truth is, everything you've gone through has shaped you into a force that even the darkest corners of this world can't touch. You are no longer just someone who has been broken. You are a force that will break everything standing in your way. This isn't about revenge or proving anyone wrong. It's about fully embracing the monster you've become. The world is watching, waiting for you to step into your true power. The question isn't whether you can rise to the occasion. The real question is, can anyone survive the storm you're about to unleash? Your monster side is no longer a hidden part of you. It's your strength, your edge, your undeniable power. The world is about to learn who you truly are, and once you unleash that power, there will be no turning back. The darkness doesn't stand a chance. The question is, are you ready to be the monster they fear? Before we get into this, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers, and leave a comment with what your true power means to you. Let's get this message out to those who need it, and let's make sure the world knows the monster within you is no longer hiding in the depths of darkness. When all seemed lost, there arose a force unlike anything the world had ever seen. A being born from years of pain, torment, and betrayal. This creature was forged not by chance, but by the relentless grinding of suffering. It began with whispers of Imui, slowly transformed into a roar of fury. Every moment of vulnerability, every tear shed in silence became the stepping stone to this powerful emergence. What was once a fragile soul is now an unbreakable entity, a force unstoppable and undeniable. Like a storm that gathers in the heart of the ocean, this beast wasn't formed overnight. It was built layer by layer from every blow it had suffered. Its power wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological, and spiritual. Each time the world tried to break it, it only became stronger. The beast, once a victim, was now the embodiment of wrath, a nightmare that would haunt those who dared to cross its path. This isn't a fairy tale where the hero rises to slay the dragon. No, this is the story of someone who became the dragon. The beast is not just a manifestation of revenge, it's the culmination of everything, the pain, the rage, the broken promises that has ever been inflicted upon the speaker. This transformation is a force of nature, a reminder that even the most fragile can evolve into something far more terrifying. What does it take to shatter a human being? To break their spirit so completely that they can no longer recognize themselves. This journey begins in the darkness, in the quiet moments when no one is looking. It starts with a soul on the edge of collapse, a heart shattered by betrayal, by abandonment, by the weight of the world. But here's the truth that the world often forgets. From that brokenness, a nightmare can rise. It was never about surviving the pain. It was about transcending it. The more they broke, the stronger they became. With every fracture, a new, sharper version of themselves emerged. What was once vulnerability turned into a weapon, and what was once a broken heart became an impenetrable fortress of rage. The nightmares that were once fears to be avoided are now the very thing that commands respect. The transformation was not a fall into despair, but a rise into power. This is the truth. Brokenness is not the end. It is a beginning. The scars, the tears, and the countless sleepless nights are not markers of weakness. They are the hallmarks of someone who has endured, who has stood in the face of relentless adversity and refused to be defeated. From the ashes of this broken soul, a nightmare was born, a nightmare that would never again bow to anyone. Vengeance is not simply a thirst to be quenched. It is a fire that consumes and transforms. What began as a flicker of desire for justice became an all-consuming inferno, scorching everything in its path. This wasn't a person seeking revenge. No, what was born here was something far darker, a soul shaped and hardened by the molten fury of betrayal and loss. Each act of betrayal was a new forge, each wound a new hammer strike on the anvil of wrath. The world often speaks of vengeance as a weakness, a flaw in the human heart. But in this case, vengeance is the very thing that gave birth to the beast. What was once a soul crying out for understanding now roars for destruction. The soul that emerged was not just angry. It was pure fury incarnate. This fury was not reckless. It was calculated, honed by years of suffering, and now it would consume all in its path. Vengeance, once a fleeting thought, became a creed. It was no longer a mere response. It was the very purpose for which the soul existed. The very essence of who they were now resided in the pursuit of vengeance. Every broken promise, every whispered lie, every cruel word became a reason to rise, to fight, to tear the world asunder. And with each step forward, vengeance no longer seemed like a choice. It became an inevitability. There is a moment in every story when the lines between hero and villain blur. For the tormentors, it was when they pushed too far. They didn't realize it at first, but with every betrayal, every act of cruelty, they were sowing the seeds of their own undoing. They had no idea that the one they thought they had broken was quietly transforming into something far worse than they could imagine. A creature that would make them regret the day they ever crossed its path. It's easy to think of a monster as something born out of malice or darkness, but that's not always the case. Sometimes monsters are made. They are created by the hands of those who believe they can control the broken, the beaten, the vulnerable. But those who create monsters are never ready for what follows. The creature they fashioned doesn't simply seek revenge. It seeks to annihilate everything in its way, to rewrite the world in its image. The monster they thought they could control is now its own force, and it will not be stopped. The true horror is not in the monster itself, but in the realization that it was their actions, their cruelty, that gave birth to this nightmare. The tormentors now find themselves trapped in the very prison they built for the speaker. The monster is no longer something to fear in the shadows. It is the shadow, and it will consume everything they once believed was safe. Humanity has its limits: physical, mental, and emotional. But what happens when those limits are shattered? When the very essence of a being is pushed past all known boundaries? What happens when a human soul is turned into a force so monstrous that it no longer fits into the confines of what the world knows as human? The answer is simple. It becomes unstoppable. This newfound power is not some random act of violence or rage. It is the result of years of suffering, betrayal, and pain. It is power born from the darkest corners of the soul, a power that grows with every moment of weakness, every moment of loss. And now, this power is no longer just a survival mechanism. It is a weapon, a tool of destruction that cannot be contained. It's as if the very essence of the speaker has merged with the primal forces of nature, becoming something beyond comprehension. The beast's power doesn't just exceed human limits, it redefines them. It is no longer bound by the rules of flesh and blood. This is something more ancient, more terrifying. It's the manifestation of every fear, every broken hope, and every shattered dream, twisted into a singular, terrifying force. The question now is not whether this creature can be stopped, but if anything can survive its wrath. The world will soon learn that some powers cannot be reasoned with, and they cannot be tamed. Pain is the crucible in which this beast was forged. Every ounce of suffering, every broken heart, and every tear shed became the catalyst for an explosion of rage. This is not the kind of anger that fades with time. No, this is a fury that grows stronger with every passing moment, a fire that burns hotter the more it is stoked. What was once pain now drives an unstoppable force, a being so filled with fury that nothing can stand in its way. What the world fails to realize is that pain is not a passive experience. It is a transformative one. Each moment of suffering leaves behind something stronger, something more dangerous. Pain doesn't always break people. Sometimes it builds them. It is the crucible that forges the weapons of tomorrow. And in this case, that weapon is a being capable of destroying everything that ever caused harm. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in silence. The beast, born from pain, has now come into its own. It is no longer the helpless victim. It is a creature fueled by an insatiable fury, a fury that can't be tamed, a fury that will not be denied. The world will soon discover that when pain transforms into fury, nothing in its path will remain unscathed. The speaker once hid in the shadows, but no more. Now, the darkness quakes in fear as it realizes the truth. The very thing it tried to suppress has become its master. There is nowhere left to hide. Every corner, every whisper of darkness that once offered sanctuary now trembles at the sound of the speaker's footsteps. The speaker has become a force that not only defies the darkness, but dominates it. The very things that once sought to smother them have now become the hunting ground, and there is no refuge for those who dwell there. The darkness is no longer an ally. It is a foe that cannot escape its inevitable reckoning. Every betrayal left a scar, but it also added to the beast. In the beginning, it was difficult to comprehend how each wound could transform into something more powerful, more consuming. But as the years passed, the truth became clear. Each act of betrayal didn't just break a part of the speaker. It made them whole in ways no one could have imagined. Every lie told, every promise broken, every cruel word was a spark that fueled an insatiable fire within them. The beast inside was not a passive creature. It was a ravenous, growing force. The more the world sought to crush the speaker, the more the beast inside them grew. The pain of betrayal, once an unbearable weight, became a source of strength. It's ironic, really. Those who sought to weaken the speaker were actually the ones who made them unbreakable. With every new blow, the beast became more alive, more aware of its own power, until it was no longer a whisper, but a roar of hunger for revenge. What the tormentors never realized is that the more they betrayed, the more they fed the monster. The beast was not just an entity, it was a force, shaped by their cruelty. Now, the tables have turned. The ones who once held the power are now helpless, trapped by the very monster they created. They wanted to break the speaker, but instead, they birthed something far worse than they could have ever imagined. There's a terrifying moment when those who wronged you realize they can no longer run. It's not just that they fear the monster, they fear the truth of their own actions. The monster, once a figment of their imagination, is now real, and it's coming for them. It's the moment they realize that the very creature they believed was a victim of their cruelty has now become the predator. And there is no place left to hide. In the past, the speaker may have cowered in fear, unsure of their own strength, but that was then. Now, the roles have reversed. The tormentors are the ones in fear, and they can no longer escape the consequences of their actions. There is nowhere left to run, no hiding place in the world that can shield them from the monster they created. Every shadow is an ally to the beast. Every corner is a trap, and every step they take only brings them closer to the reckoning. What's truly terrifying is that the monster doesn't need to chase them. It knows exactly where they are. The beast is not bound by time, space, or geography. It moves through the air, through the silence, through the very cracks in their minds. The very thought of escape becomes a fleeting illusion as they realize that the monster they made is already inside them, tracking their every move. There is no escaping the wrath they've invited. Mercy once existed in the speaker's heart. Once they may have believed in second chances, in the possibility of forgiveness. But mercy, like the other emotions of the past, has been buried, never to be spoken again. What was once an expression of humanity is now a hollow concept, foreign and distant. The speaker no longer seeks to understand or give mercy because it's no longer a language they know. It has become a weakness that will never again have a place in their world. The tormentors, once accustomed to the speaker's empathy, now face something far darker. There is no compassion left, no room for understanding. What they once took for granted, the speaker's vulnerability, has been replaced by a cold, unyielding wrath. Mercy is no longer part of their vocabulary, and what the speaker offers now is only the brutal clarity of their anger. The speaker understands now what the tormentors never could. Mercy doesn't bring peace, it brings pain. It's a tool used to keep the broken tied to the world of their oppressors. But in the speaker's transformation, mercy has been shed like an old skin. What's left is a creature whose only desire is retribution, and it will not stop until it has ravaged everything that dared to break it. Once, there may have been places to hide, shadows, corners, secrets. Those were all safe havens where the vulnerable could escape from the world's cruelty. But now, nothing can escape the monster's wrath. It is everywhere, all-encompassing, an unstoppable force that sees all, hears all, and knows all. There is no place to seek refuge, no safe corner to crawl into. The world itself has become a prison, and the monster holds the key. The beast no longer waits for the opportunity to strike. It strikes first. It is everywhere, in every whisper, in every breeze, in every darkened alley. Even in the brightest of days, the shadow of the monster looms. It watches, it waits, and it moves with a terrifying precision, always just one step ahead. Those who once believed they could outrun it, escape it, are now running out of options. The world quakes as the monster's wrath grows ever closer, and with each passing moment, the realization sets in. There is no escape. The monster is not just a force of destruction. It is an inevitability. For those who wronged it, their fate has already been sealed. The monster's wrath will find them, and there will be no place left for them to hide. It's almost unrecognizable now, the fragile, broken person who once stood at the mercy of the world. The victim is gone, replaced by something far more terrifying, far more dangerous. What was once a soul shattered by loss and abuse has now become a monster whose very presence strikes fear into the hearts of all who encounter it. The victim didn't simply survive their pain. They grew from it, evolved, and became something that no longer fits into the narrow confines of the human experience. What's even more terrifying is that this evolution wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The mind that once sought to understand, to forgive, has now become a weapon of unimaginable destruction. This is the dark side of humanity, the side that the world does not want to acknowledge, the side that lies in wait, patiently enduring until it is pushed too far. The victim became the embodiment of everything that once broke them, and in this transformation, they gained a power that no one could have predicted. Those who once saw the speaker as weak, as someone to be preyed upon, are now beginning to understand the truth. They were wrong. The victim, once powerless, has risen. And in this rise, they have become the very thing that terrifies the world. The evolution is complete, and the monster is now free. There is a primal fear that exists when something slips beyond our control. The tormentors, once masters of their own world, are now powerless in the face of the monster they created. The fear they feel is not just the fear of death, it's the fear of the unknown, the fear of something that cannot be reasoned with, something that doesn't care about mercy or logic or reason. It is the fear of losing control, of knowing that the world they once shaped is no longer in their hands. What they never understood is that the monster is not driven by the same laws of nature that govern humans. It doesn't obey the same rules. It is a force of pure destruction, and it cannot be bargained with. The fear that once defined the tormentor's grip on power has now been replaced by the cold sweat of terror as they realize that the monster doesn't care about their pleas. It only cares about the reckoning that is coming. For the first time, they are powerless. They are not in control. And that fear, that realization that nothing can stop the inevitable, is what breaks them the most. They can no longer hide, no longer manipulate, no longer fight back. They are at the mercy of the monster they helped create. The time has come. The reckoning is here, and it is unstoppable. The beast has long been nurtured, fed by pain and suffering, and now it has come to collect what it is owed. It's not a question of whether the tormentors will face judgment.